9 rays of light pierced the heavens, and with them something ancient awakened. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. The figure vanished, and in its place the mist coalesced into a flight of steps before Wang Lin. They stretched upward endlessly, disappearing into the unknown. Wang Lin drew a deep breath, a resolute gleam flashing in his eyes. Step by step he ascended. Behind him, each step dissolved into nothingness, as though erasing the path he had taken. Outside the pavilion, the 3 old men were in quiet discussion when a brilliant radiance suddenly burst forth from the collection pavilion, growing ever more dazzling. The old man from the Chen family turned his gaze toward the light and spoke calmly. "Fellow cultivator Shu's opportunity is about to begin. I only wonder what kind of celestial spell he will obtain on the 4th floor." The cultivator named Lu, who had lost her physical body, nodded. Cultivation is intertwined with fortune. Though it may not always seem significant at crucial moments, luck can yield remarkable results. I suspect he will obtain a rather fine celestial spell. The final cultivator song remained silent at first. His eyes fixed on the pavilion, then suddenly sharpened as he muttered in a low voice, "Something isn't right." The other 2 were startled and immediately turned their attention toward the collection pavilion. Their expressions shifted at once. After the first beam of light, 4 more erupted from the top of the pavilion, shooting into the heavens and sending ripples across the sky. From below, the spectacle was nothing short of magnificent. 5 rays of light. "He has actually entered the 5th floor," Lu exclaimed, disbelief written across her face. "It seems we have underestimated fellow cultivator Shu Chen," said, his eyes gleaming. "He must be at the peak of the corporeal yang stage, perhaps even half a step into the nirvana scrya stage. Only then could he barely meet the requirements for the 5th floor." Song slowly added, "If he were truly at the nirvana scrya stage, entering the thunder celestial realm would be impossible, unless..." Before he could finish, 2 more beams of light burst forth, aligning with the previous 5. 7 radiant pillars of light pierced the heavens. The 3 stood frozen, utterly stunned. 7 rays, that means the 7th floor. Impossible. Song murmured, his voice trembling with disbelief. Lu's mind went blank as she stared at the sky. Chen's reaction was even more intense. Shock flooded his eyes as he muttered, "What level of cultivation is required for the 7th floor? Shu Mu cannot possibly possess such power. Could it truly be sheer fortune that allowed him to bypass the test?" Before they could recover, 2 more beams shot upward. 9 resplendent rays tore into the sky, like thunder roaring in their ears. The 3 stood speechless, staring blankly upward. 5 rays could be explained. Perhaps Shu Mu had concealed his cultivation. Though surprising, it was still within reason. 7 rays shattered that belief. But 9 could only mean one thing: unimaginable fortune. There was no other explanation. The impact was overwhelming. Even the ancestors of their families, when the celestial realm had opened, had only reached the 8th floor. No one had ever stepped into the 9th. After ascending for a long time, Wang Lin finally reached the end of the steps. The final step beneath his feet glowed brightly, and before him appeared a pavilion. It was not large. Along each side stood more than 10 wooden frames, each holding a piece of celestial jade that emitted a soft, gentle glow. Directly ahead hung a painting. Within it stood a tree, half its leaves yellowed as though caught between seasons. Beneath it sat a young boy, quietly cultivating. In the upper left corner, a line of inked words was written. "Call the wind, summon the rain, magic, arsenal, lands, collapse mountains, crumble dark moon, clear skies." Wang Lin stared at the painting in silence. The image itself revealed nothing unusual, yet the line of text stirred his thoughts. Call the wind, summon the rain, 2 spells. Magic arsenal must also be a spell. Lands collapse, mountains crumble, likely another. But dark moon, clear skies. What does that mean? Unable to discern its meaning, he withdrew his gaze and surveyed the room. It was stark and simple, no tables, no decorations. Only a stone mat lay on the ground, worn and sunken, as though someone had cultivated upon it for countless years. Wang Lin approached and examined it carefully. It appeared ordinary, yet when he reached out to touch it, his hand passed straight through. He frowned. Turning to the wooden frames, he observed them closely. Moments later, his expression darkened. The joy he had felt vanished entirely. The celestial jades like the mat were illusions. They could be seen but not touched. They did not truly exist. A bitter smile crossed his lips. If I had known, I would have stayed on the 4th floor. His gaze slowly returned to the painting. After a long pause, his eyes lit up. He sat down and focused entirely upon it. The 9th floor, a place meant for celestial lords, cannot be so simple. Perhaps everything here is only illusion to me, while a true celestial lord would see through it instantly. If so, then this painting must hold the key. Time passed. Wang Lin's mind gradually calmed. He refused to leave empty-handed. After careful consideration, he became convinced the painting was the answer. Letting go of all distractions, he immersed himself within it. Slowly his thoughts stilled. His eyes closed. Yet even in darkness, the painting remained vivid within his mind, as though he had stepped inside it. After a long while, he opened his eyes, frowning. Something is wrong. There is a barrier, preventing me from truly entering. His gaze sharpened. It fell upon the boy beneath the tree. Previously, the boy had simply been cultivating hands still. But now, his hands were forming a seal. Wang Lin's mind trembled. He watched more closely. Time passed once more. 7 days slipped by in the blink of an eye. He discovered that every 2 to 3 hours, the boy's hand would subtly change position. The shifts were so slight that without absolute focus, they would go unnoticed. Over those 7 days, Wang Lin memorized every seal. On the 8th day, he sat down and began forming them. The moment the seals appeared, the entire pavilion trembled. Wang Lin halted, scanning his surroundings, then continued. Again, the pavilion shook, this time as if it were shrinking. Shock surged through him. His hands moved faster. After several tremors, the shaking ceased. Confusion flickered across his face. Yet he persisted, forming the seals with increasing speed. A strange sensation overtook him. His body seemed to dissolve his consciousness, drifting into the painting. When the final seal was completed, a thunderous boom erupted within his mind. His body collapsed. His origin soul vibrated violently as dizziness engulfed him. When his vision cleared, his heart trembled. He stood within a vast void. Behind him rose a great tree, half green, half yellow. A gentle breeze stirred its leaves, producing a soft, rustling whisper. Looking down, he saw himself clad in a Taoist robe. He had entered the painting. He had become the boy. The scene was surreal beyond words. Above, in the sky's corner, inked words floated. Call the wind, summon the rain magic arsenal. Lands collapse, mountains crumble, dark moon, clear skies. As Wang Lin gazed upon them, they dissolved into droplets of ink falling like rain. The void shattered. Noise flooded in. Countless indistinct figures appeared surrounding him. Though their faces were unclear, they all sat down, forming a vast gathering. Whispers filled the air, yet none could be understood. Then silence. A figure emerged. Though indistinct, his presence carried immense pressure. He floated in the air, seated, smiling faintly as his clear voice echoed. Today, Master Carefree paints the opening of the collection pavilion. Celestial Lord Run By invited me to observe. Thus, I have invited all of you to hear me expound the Tao as the painting is formed. This is my Tao. He raised his hand. A roaring wind erupted, dark, overwhelming, devouring the sky. It transformed into 9 black dragons. Their roars shook the heavens. Their presence bent the very world. As the wind swept across, the dragons exhaled chilling gales, capable of extinguishing all life. Before such power, existence itself seemed as fragile as a flickering candle. This is Call the Wind, the voice declared. In essence, it extinguishes the flame of all living beings. Wang Lin's mind convulsed. Pain tore through him as if to rip him apart. His origin soul shattered into fragments. At that moment, a gentle force enveloped him. A voice laughed softly. The Celestial Emperor's spell is extraordinary. This spell, called the Wind, shall be inscribed upon Master Carefree's painting and stored upon the 9th floor. Whether it is comprehended shall depend on fate. Wang Lin's shattered soul transformed into ink. 3 words were written: "Call the wind." A surge of power erupted. His soul reformed and was flung outward. His body trembled as his eyes snapped open. Shock filled his gaze. The voice still echoed in his ears. "So this is luck." He stared at the painting, breath unsteady. Celestial Emperor, Celestial Lord, and Master Carefree. At last he realized this painting was created by the same person whose works he had seen before. After a long silence, he stood. Without a second glance at the celestial jades, he left. Compared to what he had gained, everything else on the 9th floor was meaningless. As he stepped out, stairs appeared beneath his feet. His mind remained dazed, still trapped in the world of the painting. Celestial spell, call the wind. Descending, he vanished without a trace. Outside, the 3 cultivators had recovered, but disbelief still lingered. Then came jealousy. It grew festering, overwhelming reason. They could not fathom what lay within the 9th floor, and precisely because they could not, their desire intensified. The pavilion doors opened. Wang Lin emerged, still in a trance, walking past them as if they did not exist. The 3 exchanged glances. In each other's eyes, they saw the same ruthless resolve. "Forgive me, fellow cultivator," Shu Chen said coldly, killing intent flickering within his gaze. "Compared to reporting you to the family, I desire the celestial spell more, especially in your current state. Had you been clear-minded, I might have hesitated. But now, this is a gift from the heavens." They moved. Without hesitation, they unleashed their strongest treasures, their deadliest spells, all directed at Wang Lin. Silver needles materialized before the cultivator named Chen, each one shimmering with a cold blue glow. As his hand formed a seal, a towering illusory figure rose behind him, its form suffused with dense, celestial spiritual energy. The figure lifted its arm and pointed toward Wang Lin. At once the needles whistled through the air, streaking toward Wang Lin's back like a storm of frozen light. The cultivator named Song held a yin-yang pattern within his palm. Lightning coursed through it, crackling with ferocious power. As he flung it forward, it surged toward Wang Lin, brimming with overwhelming origin energy. Close behind it, Song followed without pause. His right hand formed a strange seal, and from it unfurled a long strand of dark silk. The instant it appeared, a suffocating pressure spread outward, accompanied by a billowing green mist that seemed to corrode the very air. Last was the female cultivator Lu, who had long since lost her physical body. She opened her mouth and spat out a delicate crystal fan. Catching it in one fluid motion, she hurled it forward and exhaled a stream of origin energy. The energy transformed instantly into 6 roaring dragons that coiled around Wang Lin, sealing every path of escape. Their eyes burned red with killing intent. Each of them carried the same thought: Wang Lin must die. Only then could the celestial spell of the 9th floor be theirs. Their movements were swift beyond measure. Spells and treasures surged forward in unison, closing in on Wang Lin in the blink of an eye. And yet, Wang Lin stood motionless, still lost in a trance. His mind lingered within that boundless, wind-swept world he had just witnessed. As the 3 closed in, he absent-mindedly lifted a finger and murmured, "Call the wind." The moment the words left his lips, a strand of black wind slipped from his fingertip. It expanded instantly, swelling into a vast storm that engulfed the heavens and the earth. A chilling gale swept outward, and the sky itself seemed to dim as though retreating in fear. The entire fragment of the world trembled violently. An ancient, terrifying aura flooded the surroundings. It was not merely power, it was memory, as though the heavens had once been ravaged by this wind, as though the earth still remembered its passing. The moment the black wind emerged, the long-lost celestial spell of the Celestial Emperor returned to the world once more. Without hesitation, the wind surged toward the 3 cultivators. Chen's silver needles were the first to meet it. They shattered instantly without resistance, without even the chance to struggle. The towering, illusory figure behind him collapsed just as easily, like a fragile flame snuffed out by a passing breeze. This is the celestial spell of the ninth floor. Chen's pupils shrank in terror. His scalp went numb as a cold dread seized his heart. In his eyes, the black wind was no longer an attack. It was annihilation itself. Before it, he felt like an ant before the heavens. There was no will left in him to resist. He turned and fled without hesitation, tearing space open as he attempted to teleport away. But it was futile. The wind swept across him. His body trembled violently as he was forcibly dragged out of the void. The light in his eyes dimmed and his form collapsed. His origin, like a fragile flame, was extinguished. All of this occurred in but an instant. Song fared no better. The yin-yang pattern disintegrated the moment it touched the wind, collapsing along with his physical body. Terror overtook him as he abandoned his flesh without hesitation, his origin soul fleeing in desperation. As for Lu, the crystal fan in her hand shattered the instant it met the black wind. Already in her origin soul form, she let out a silent scream and retreated frantically. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the black wind vanished, as though it had never existed. Wang Lin's eyes cleared, the haze within them dissipating. So, this is the celestial spell. Call the wind. He inhaled deeply, his face turning pale. Without pause, he stepped forward. The 1 billion soul flag emerged from his bag, unfurling into a sea of black mist that surged toward Lu. At the same time, his gaze turned cold. He spat out a grain of sand. It transformed mid-air into a massive stamp, crashing toward Song's fleeing soul. In an instant, it caught up and smashed down without mercy. A piercing scream echoed. Song's origin soul erupted with energy as he struggled desperately to escape fear, twisting his features. But it was too late. The karma whip appeared, lashing out and dragging him back toward Wang Lin like a condemned prisoner. Fellow cultivator, shew mercy. I was wrong, I was wrong. Wang Lin did not even look at him. His eyes were ice. With a simple motion of his fingers, Song's origin soul shattered. It dissolved into pure origin energy, which Wang Lin absorbed without hesitation. The energy surged through his body, restoring his strength. The pallor on his face faded slightly as he exhaled. Without delay, he turned and pursued Lu, who was now trapped within the black mist of the soul flag. His hand reached out. The karma whip lashed repeatedly through the mist. At last, with a flick of the flag, her origin soul was captured. Wang Lin pulled it out, his expression indifferent. If you kill me, the Lu family will... Her voice cut off abruptly. Wang Lin crushed her soul, devoured it. His complexion grew slightly ruddy, though traces of paleness remained. Without hesitation, he reached once more into the soul flag and retrieved the origin soul of the first cultivator he had slain here. He crushed it, consumed it. Only then did he sit down and begin cultivating. Time passed. Slowly his face returned to normal, though a faint pallor still lingered beneath his skin. Wang Lin opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The breath he released was pitch black, a chilling sight. What a terrifying celestial spell, he murmured. I've only grasped a fragment of it yet. When I used it, I nearly lost control. The consumption of origin energy was so immense it almost drained everything within the G realm. Had I not recovered in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. He fell silent for a moment. Yet, no matter how I look at it, this doesn't feel like a celestial spell. His gaze darkened. It is closer to a devil's art, and the cost is far too great. If I wish to use it again, I must prepare several origin souls of yin-yang cultivators in advance. He rose to his feet and collected the storage bags of the fallen cultivators. Turning, he looked toward the collection pavilion, his eyes flickering with thought. A pity, this pavilion cannot be taken away. Otherwise, the 4 great families would have long since seized it from the celestial realm. He paused. But I am unwilling to leave it behind. His eyes slowly brightened. If there is a way. A memory surfaced. Master Carefree will paint the opening of the collection pavilion. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened. The hand seals of the boy beneath the tree appeared in his mind. When I formed those seals, the pavilion trembled. His heart skipped. Without hesitation, he moved, arriving before the pavilion in an instant. Taking a deep breath, he began forming the seals, one after another. The moment they appeared, the collection pavilion began to glow. Before his very eyes it shrank, smaller, smaller still, until it became no larger than a palm. It floated gently into his hand. Wang Lin stared at it. Even with his composure, he could not hold back his laughter. A deep, unrestrained laughter, filled with pure, undeniable joy. Since I have already made enemies of the four great families, then I must be even more ruthless. As Wang Lin moved, his expression turned cold and resolute. He began laying down restrictions across the fragment, one after another, intricate, insidious, layered with deadly intent. He used the fragment itself as a foundation, weaving a vast web of traps, each more devious than the last. Years passed, nearly 10. Only then did Wang Lin reach the edge of the fragment, departing through the very place he had first entered. The restrictions here barred entry but not exit. Half a month later, Wang Lin and Li Yuan sped through the void. Li Yuan's left hand throbbed with pain, the origin energy within his body nearly depleted. He glanced at Wang Lin and gave a bitter smile. "Brother Shu, I've placed over 10,000 restrictions along the fragment's edge. Combined, their power is formidable. Unless the four great families dispatch their true elites, breaking through will not be easy." Half a month earlier, when Wang Lin had emerged, Li Yuan had appeared immediately. At Wang Lin's request, he had sealed the fragment entirely. Yet instead of using his family's signature techniques, he had relied on a vast array of different restrictions layered together with precision. Wang Lin nodded slightly. "Brother Li, my affairs in the celestial realm are complete. We should leave as soon as possible." He reached into his bag and retrieved a thunder furnace. Having slain many cultivators, acquiring one had been effortless. Li Yuan blinked, somewhat surprised. "You're leaving already? Aren't you going to investigate the fragment with the celestial spiritual energy fluctuations?" Wang Lin shook his head, his gaze drifting into the depths of the void. "I'm not going." The memory of the five-colored vortex within the passage stirred unease within him, a faint but persistent sense of danger. More importantly, he had already obtained the collection pavilion. The exhilaration had yet to fade. Having seized such a treasure, his only thought now was to leave immediately. After all, whether in prestige or value, the pavilion was of immense importance to the four great families. The moment they discovered its disappearance, they would undoubtedly unleash a relentless hunt. The fragment has been sealed. The chances of anyone discovering what happened there are slim. He did not mention the collection pavilion to Li Yuan. Such a matter was far too significant. Wang Lin was cautious by nature. Unless he was absolutely certain, he would reveal nothing. Li Yuan pondered briefly, then nodded. "Very well. To leave the Thunder Celestial Realm, one must reach a specific location. Only at the Celestial Gate can we activate the Thunder Furnace and return." Wang Lin nodded. He had already heard this from Hu. With that, the two pressed onward, traversing the void. The Celestial Gate lay far to the west, an immense distance from their current location. Yet as they traveled, a shocking upheaval erupted across the Thunder Celestial Realm. Cultivators gathered in vast numbers upon four separate fragments, each drawn by immense fluctuations of celestial spiritual energy. Word had spread rapidly, and almost every cultivator within the realm had learned of it. Without hesitation, they converged upon the nearest fragment. Within each fragment, ancient restrictions had emerged, some hidden among mountains, others buried within sprawling ruins. From within these restrictions, celestial spiritual energy surged. As more cultivators gathered, so too did experts in restrictions. After the stronger cultivators reached a tacit agreement, the masters began working together to break the seals. The four fragments lay in the cardinal directions east, southwest, and north. On the western fragment, Hu stood calmly upon the plains, gazing at a colossal restriction spanning 10,000 feet. It pulsed with dense, celestial spiritual energy, its presence ancient and imposing. Around it, countless cultivators had gathered in small groups. Several restriction masters were already at work, attempting to unravel its secrets. Shen Gonghu frowned. He distinctly remembered visiting this place months ago. There had been nothing here. How could such a massive restriction appear in so short a time? As he pondered, a subtle sense of unease crept into his heart. At that moment, a streak of light tore through the sky, followed by more than 10 streams of sword energy descending like lightning. When they landed, the one at the forefront stepped forward. Zhang Kongli. He immediately spotted Shen Gonghu standing alone. In a single step, he arrived before him, clasping his hands with a smile. "Brother Shengong, you arrived quite early." Shen Gonghu glanced at him, expression calm. "It is you who arrived late." Zhang Kongli chuckled softly, taking his place beside him. His gaze shifted toward the distant restriction. "Do you know whom I encountered on the way here?" "I do not," Shen Gonghu replied indifferently, his attention still fixed on the formation. Zhang Kongli was unfazed. It was Xianxia. Shen Gonghu's eyes lit up instantly. "Truly." "Without a doubt," Zhang Kongli said with a smile. "Xianxia mentioned that if time permits, he may come here." A trace of joy flickered across Shen Gonghu's face. Zhang Kongli suddenly seemed far more agreeable. With my lord's peculiar temperament, he would indeed take interest in such a place. Zhang Kongli nodded thoughtfully. "I assume Brother Shengong has also noticed. This formation's appearance is far too strange." Before he could finish, the formation flared violently. Waves of energy rippled outward, drawing exclamations from the surrounding cultivators. At once, numerous restriction masters surged forward, unleashing their techniques to hasten its collapse. Powerful cultivators from various factions stood scattered around, maintaining an unspoken understanding. Despite the tension, no one made a move against another. They were united for now in breaking the formation. Among the 4 fragments, the northern one broke first. A curved tunnel appeared, stretching deep into darkness. Without hesitation, a cultivator charged in. The rest followed. Hours later, a blood-curdling scream echoed from within. A streak of red light flashed. The tunnel collapsed instantly, disintegrating into nothingness. Panic spread. Those inside tried to flee, but beneath the crimson glow they perished one after another. Only a handful survived. Soon after, the eastern fragment opened. The same fate followed. The moment the first cultivator beheld the 5-colored vortex, he self-destructed. Red light consumed everything. The southern fragment was no different. In the span of moments, the Thunder Celestial Realm became a slaughterhouse. Back on the western fragment, the formation before Shen Gonghu and Zhang Kongli began to fluctuate violently. More cultivators joined in, unleashing their techniques. At last, with a deafening roar, the formation shattered. A dark chasm opened in the earth, and a pillar of celestial spiritual energy surged skyward. Temptation overwhelmed reason. Some cultivators rushed in, despite the burning energy tearing at their bodies. Once the first entered, the rest followed like a flood. Yet, Shen Gonghu did not move, nor did Zhang Kongli. They exchanged a glance. Both saw the same doubt reflected in the other's eyes. This was broken too easily. A few others remained as well, cultivators who had surpassed the peak of the late ascendant stage, standing at the illusory Ying stage. Time passed. More and more entered. Then, a muffled explosion. Screams. The tunnel collapsed. All within perished. Shock gripped Shen Gonghu and the others. They rose into the air, faces pale. At that moment, across the Thunder Celestial Realm, all 4 tunnels had collapsed. Then, an immense surge of celestial spiritual energy erupted, spreading like a tidal wave. Simultaneously, 9 fragments trembled violently. 9 ancient formations emerged, carved deep into the earth, glowing with an ominous red light. Fear spread among the cultivators. Confusion turned to dread. Then, one fragment collapsed, not from an external force, but from something within. A terrifying aura burst forth. At its center, A severed arm, sealed countless years ago, now freed, it shot toward the heart of the Thunder Celestial realm. And then, the rest followed. Fragments collapsed one after another. 2 arms, 2 legs, a skull with a single left eye, a torso split into 3, all surged toward the center. The skull was smiling. As it passed through the void, it devoured any cultivator it encountered. Bodies withered, collapsing instantly. With each origin soul consumed, its left eye shone brighter. Their speed was terrifying, faster than any cultivator, like shadows flickering through space. Wang Lin and Li Yuan were still racing westward. Then, a suffocating aura spread, cold, oppressive, like an unseen mist swallowing the void. Li Yuan's expression shifted. Just as he was about to extend his divine sense, a crimson light appeared in the distance, blazing, terrifying. He inhaled sharply. Within that light, he saw it clearly, a severed arm,